All right, friends, it's time. I finally found a girl, a real girl, to be on the show. Yep, her name is Lex Albrecht, and she's part of the Canadian national cycling team. She also competes for TIBCO out of California. She studied medical biology. She travels around the world inspiring young girls to achieve their dreams. She does a ton of charitable work for the Charles Bruneau Foundation, as well as Fast and Female. She's got a motorcycle. She tries to find the best coffee in the world, and she's got the best coffee gear I think I've ever seen for traveling. She made some time this week. I couldn't be happier. She's the first girl on the podcast, and I welcome her to the team. The road to 1,000 subscribers continues with Lex Albrecht this week. Remember to like, share, Apple, Spotify. Let's get those subscribers going, my friends. Win yourself a brand new Leverpresso, which is how I met her, and we're going to talk about it. Here we go.
Oh, no, thanks. I can't drink coffee late at night. It keeps me up.
First pot!
You're listening to the Brenton on Tour Coffee Cast, brought to you by things that make coffee, people who make coffee, people who love coffee, and maybe just coffee. You have no idea who he is, but he's on the search for the best coffee in the world. So pour a cup, grab a seat on the John, and maybe, just maybe, you'll stop drinking shitty coffee. It's the Brenton on Tour Coffee Cast with your host, that guy you don't know. Here's BD.
Welcome, friends, to the new episode of the Brenton on Tour podcast. I'm joined on the line by my very special guest and first female guest, Lex. I got Lex Albrecht on the line from Montreal. Is that where you are right now?
Absolutely. I'm at home in Montreal. It's one of the rare occasions I'm at home, and it feels good.
You're traveling a lot right now. Tell the world of the podcast listeners here what you're up to in the world, what you're up to, and who you are. Run the bio, and we'll get going here.
Well, I'm a professional road cyclist, and I've been competing professionally for the past 8 seasons now. I'm a member of Team TIBCO-Silicon Valley Bank. It's a UCI Women's World Tour World Tour team that's based in California. But there are 12 of us on the team, and we're from all over the world. So I think that there's only one girl from California on our squad. There are 2 Canadians, 2 girls from Australia, 1 Kiwi, a rider from Britain, Mexico, Guatemala, everywhere pretty much. So yeah, it's a pretty international team, but I'm also a member of the Canadian national team.
You guys are training a lot. I see, if you guys, for listeners at home, Lex all her Instagram feed is fantastic. And it's in essence what led me to you, other than the fact that we have a mutual friend up in Whistler, our friend Mercedes Nickel. But
she's awesome.
But your love of coffee and your Instagram feed is consistently busy with training, coffee. You're traveling all over the world. Where are you? You're home right now for how long? But you got about as busy a travel schedule as I do. Are you training lots?
I try to live in the moment. So for now, I'm just enjoying Montreal 100%. And I'm, who knows, if they send me a plane ticket to leave next week, then I'll be on the road again next week. But actually, the season is dwindling down for me. So hopefully the travel will cool off a little bit. I mean, it's fun, but a little bit of stability is enjoyable as well. The race season goes from February until September or October. For this year, for me, my races are all done except for one last event at home, and I'm not doing it with my teammates, but I'll be racing against former NHL hockey player Georges Laraque. We've done this 2 times so far, and I won both times, and I was like, I want a hat trick. So on October the 6th, which is my half birthday, we'll be racing against each other.
And that's do you train in the off season then? Is it one of those things where obviously you have to keep training to keep rolling, but you're not competing in the wintertime at all, indoors or anything like that, or is it strictly an outdoor?
No, I do a lot of training indoors on the rollers in the off season, and then I usually head south to a warmer climate to train throughout the winter just to get some mileage on the road, because there are some things that you just can't do inside. So last year I spent the winter in Arizona, and the previous years I spent the winter in Florida. I preferred Arizona a little bit because the coffee scene is better, but it's true that you do see me a little bit all over the place on Instagram. And, you know, that's one of the reasons that I love social media, because I get to live so many cool adventures through what I do as a professional cyclist. And social media is such a fun way to share that with everybody and interact with everybody and kind of let them follow along on all the great experiences that I get to live.
Well, it showed me basically we have a mutual love of the Leverpresso blend, and I found you that way just through a hashtag. It was the funniest thing, and
No way.
And because you use it a lot, and now you must also be the most caffeinated cyclist on the planet, I'd have to think, because what you're traveling with gear wise is some pretty it's some pretty heavy stuff. It's pretty great to watch you break it out every day and show the world, you know, coffee on the go, coffee in the hotel. Anyone who travels like us who did, you know, for a living and where we go, it's always a struggle to find great coffee in a hotel, but outside of,
Yep.
you know, you don't always have time to just go out and explore the city. Sometimes you're just in for a day and out, or you got a full training schedule like you do, I'm sure. So being able to say travel with a great bean or great product to make your experience better, I'm sure is a godsend. So
it makes all the difference. And like I mentioned before, you know, with all the travel and being on the road all the time, there's a big sense of, I guess, instability, which can be thrilling, but it can also be kind of exhausting in a way. And when your job is to perform physically at the top level, the instability of the lifestyle and unpredictability, I guess, it can be a little bit of a challenge. So to kind of not necessarily eliminate that factor, but to kind of lower that, I try to maintain a consistent routine regardless of where I am in the world. And the one thing that I can maintain is to start my day off with an amazing coffee. So that's why I travel with this really cool coffee gear. It's just so that I know that regardless of where I am, I'm going to have my little coffee routine in the morning. You know, I grind my beans with a hand grinder, not just to have the freshly ground beans, which makes all the difference, but just because, you know, it's part of the ritual, I guess. And then it's so much fun to play with the different gadgets that I have. So like you mentioned, the Leverpresso, I use like AeroPress. I have different accessories for my AeroPress too. I have a plug-in mocha pot. I do pour overs. I have like these foldable paper pour over filters that are from Japan, actually, that are really, really cool. Or I have, plastic and glass ones. I have so many coffee gadgets. And I love playing with them and trying them out and just tweaking my methods of brewing coffee. And, you know, I just enjoy having that little session of me time in the morning, having my coffee, and yet then, you know, I'm ready for whatever the day throws at me.
how much time do you have to go through that process? Like, do you build it into your day? Is it one of those things where it's nothing happens until that happens?
Yeah, well, usually I'll look at my schedule, I'll look at what I have to do in the morning, you know, when our departure for race time is, or whatever my obligations for the day are in terms of training or racing or sponsorship stuff or anything. And then I'll kind of work backwards. I'll be like, okay, I need to have at least 1 hour just to chill out. And, you know, sometimes the coffee making is super fast. When I'm at home, I just pull a couple shots of espresso, and that doesn't take much time at all. But I still like to just chill out and enjoy the coffee and kind of just savor it, you know? So I like to have 1 hour in the morning just to chill out.
How did the Leverpresso thing come about? And I'm traveling with one on tour, and it's my lineup at the office is growing as people start showing up for mini espressos and espresso on the go.
It's so cool, isn't it?
And it is a very cool product, and you guys can all check it out. Well, you should just go right to Lex's Instagram page as soon as this interview is done, because it's one of the funnest Instagram pages I've seen, and it's very informative, and she's putting up daily stories about how she's making it. I'm sure Leverpresso's loving you. So my office is lined up daily now. People are coming in either for an AeroPress or they're coming in for the Leverpresso, and they're always asking about it. How did it come together for you? Did you actually purchase one, or did you find it online, or how did you find it?
I actually discovered Leverpresso through a company called 8 Ounce Coffee, and they're based in Alberta, Canada, and they have like all of my dream coffee gear, like from cups and from actually, you know what, they even have single origin lip balms. So they have like cups and mugs and coffee gear, like the actual physical gear that you use to drink coffee, and like vessels, I guess you might want to call them, and lots of different brewing contraptions. So they're the ones that made me discover Leverpresso, and it's become my favorite manual espresso maker because there aren't a lot of things that can create as high of a pressure as the Leverpresso can create, and that high pressure is what creates a really good espresso. And if you have fresh beans and if you grind them properly, then you can actually get like a good crema on your espresso, actually, which previously I'd only ever been able to produce with my actual machine at home.
It's funny because I'll be thinking I'm doing it right, and I'm trying to get the dose down, or I'm trying to get the grind down, and then every now and again you'll post a new video, and I'll be like, well, yeah, I guess I better change it just a little bit. So it looks like you're doing it. So you don't only just cycle, but there's a ton of motorcycle content on your page as well. And I'm guessing
love
that
motorcycling.
Yeah, it sounds like you just love two wheels.
Absolutely. You know, I think that's like the beauty of motorcycling is that at the end of the day, when I'm done training and I still want to be outside playing on my bike, but I need to recover and I can't spend any more energy because I have to save it for the next training day or for whatever race I have coming up. You know, actually my coach has given me some constructive criticism more than one or 1,800 times about how I need to like not go beyond what the prescribed training plan is. I can get on my motorcycle and I can have the same kind of fun. You know, I don't know what it is. It's just, there's something about being on two wheels that's such a blast, and it's like satisfying to me. And when I'm on my motorcycle, I'm not spending the energy like I am on my bike. So it's just like another way to keep the fun going and going and going. And last year, I actually went through a pretty difficult period physically. I went through a bit of a burnout, and I wasn't allowed to like ride my bike for at least a week. So I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm running away. And I hopped on my motorcycle and I did a big tour of the province of Quebec, and I went way up north to areas that I'd never discovered before. And it was just so much fun. And I didn't actually even miss pedaling on my road bike, which normally would have been like really tough for me because I'm just so passionate about cycling. And the motorcycling trip just really fulfilled that, you know? So it's like the motorcycle is another way to enjoy the bike. And man, I stopped a long time ago trying to understand what I love so much about bikes, and I just accept it. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know why I love mountain biking and bike racing and just coffee shop rides and motorcycling. There's just something about moving forward on two wheels that makes me feel awesome.
Do you feel uncomfortable in cars?
I feel like a prisoner in cars, actually. I live in Montreal, and there's a lot of traffic and a lot of construction, and getting around by car and being stuck in traffic in a car just feels like I'm wasting my life away. But if I'm in traffic on my motorcycle, or if I have to go like a lot slower on my bike and wait, it doesn't matter because I'm outside and I feel like I'm playing and I feel like I'm living. So, having a car is practical, but I don't love driving around in a car. I love driving around on my motorcycle or riding around on my bike.
What's the coffee scene like in Montreal? I'm assuming it's amazing.
The coffee scene is really amazing in Montreal. We're really fortunate for that. And actually, the way that I got into Third Wave Coffee was through somebody on Twitter who was from England, and they sent me a tweet years and years and years ago about this coffee shop that I should try in Montreal. And I'd never tried like a real good third wave espresso, and I'd never even heard of the concept before. But they're the ones that introduced me to Café Saint-Henri, St. Henry Cafe in Montreal, and then my discoveries just kind of like went off from there. And I've used something called the Indie Coffee Passport, which I'm not sure if it still exists, but it was this list of cafes that you could go to, and it would cost about $20 to buy the passport, and there might have been like 25 cafes on it, and you would be allowed one coffee drink at each one of these cafes. So I would use that on my off days to discover new coffee shops around the city. So when I would have a recovery ride to do, I would take out my Indie Coffee passport, just blindly pick a cafe, go try to find it on my bicycle, just like on a nice, easy urban ride. And that way I would be able to discover a brand new coffee shop, and I'd also be able to discover sometimes new parts of the city that I'd never actually even been to. So we have a lot of coffee shops, and there are always new ones popping up. One just actually opened recently this summer around the corner from where I live, which is so cool. They're called Structure Roasters, right downtown Old Montreal, and it's a new favorite.
Do you have you finding yourself now? I wrote an article a couple of months ago called "Which Coffee Asshole Are You?" And what happens is basically we're all defined as one in some way. You know, we either are coffee snobs or we refuse to drink Tim Hortons or Starbucks. Are you finding that? Do you have a classification of coffee asshole now? Have you moved into a zone of like, okay, listen, I can't go there, or you'll go into a brand new cafe and go, wait a minute, you're not doing it right.
I like to think of myself as extremely open when it comes to coffee. Like, I can accept that there are different styles of coffee, different ways of making it. Kind of like you can't compare red wine and white wine together, and you can't compare a glass of red wine to a glass of milk. You know, they're totally different things. So I think that there's a whole spectrum of coffees, and just because like I might like one a little bit better than another doesn't mean that the other one is total like crap. But it does. The one thing, actually, there are a couple of things that I just can't stand. Like, one of them is I do not like drinking my espresso out of a paper cup. I really like my espresso out of a real espresso cup, like a porcelain cup. So no paper, please and thank you. And then the other thing that I really don't like is if I'm going for like an Americano or something, I really don't like when they add the water to the espresso shot. Just by letting it flow through the coffee ground that they've pulled the espresso shot with. Like, you have to pull the espresso shot and then add clean hot water because it tastes horrible. And actually, one kind of cool experiment for your listeners to do is if you pull espresso shots at home, just like take it like maybe like 5 or 6 little mugs and taste it as it comes out. So taste the first few drops and then like quickly put another mug out underneath, and then capture like the next section that comes through, and just keep capturing the flow of espresso that comes through, but like in separate mugs, and taste the difference. If you taste like the last bit when the water that comes through is like just kind of like orangish and it's not opaque anymore, oh, it just tastes terrible, and you don't want that in your espresso to make your Americano. You're so much better off just having pure, clean water, and then you have the beautiful flavor of the nice, amazing espresso, and it's just the pleasure is prolonged with the hot, clean water.
Well, I think that you should probably consider opening up a cafe when you stop cycling, which I don't think you're ever going to do because you're busy running around everywhere. Have you ever thought about opening a coffee place, or do you think it's beyond you and you'd rather enjoy it?
You know, I'm not sure if I'd be a good coffee shop owner, because I think I just want to be outside on my bike all the time. So maybe I wouldn't have like enough, I wouldn't have enough passion to invest in it. I'm really passionate about enjoying coffee, but I'm like even more passionate about riding my bike. So, you know, like I wouldn't make a good doctor either. So I don't know if I'd make a good coffee shop owner. Maybe I'd be an okay barista for a while. You know, it's so cool to be able to meet lots of new people in cycling, and I'm sure it would be kind of the same situation in a coffee shop with all the clientele that come in and out all the time. So that part would probably thrill me, though. When did
your journey change for you when it started becoming real that cycling was going to be full time in your life? Because was it one of those things where it just got really good for you at a certain point, or you just started to decide to race? Like where was the change for you where you had to start thinking about doing this full time? And is this full time for you all the time now, or do you actually have to still work for a living and train? Like where was the switch for you?
So that's a pretty common question that I get. So for the past 8 years, I have been cycling full time, and for the first couple years, I had to be a little bit crafty because the salaries that I was getting weren't enough to actually like totally live off of. And that's like one of the challenging realities, especially in women's cycling. But yeah, I have been racing full time for the past 8 years, and I started a little bit later in life. I'm 32 now, and I began racing after having worked 2.5 years in a lab, and I've studied in medical biology in university. And it was actually during my university studies that I dabbled in racing a little bit on the weekend, just as a different way to enjoy riding my bike. I just wanted to add another aspect of cycling to my life, instead of just riding miles and miles and miles for the fun of it. And I was working in a bike shop all through my studies, which was the way that I could afford to ride my bike. It was because I was getting everything at cost. I got a pro deal on my bike. And then once I graduated, I realized, holy smokes, how am I going to be able to afford this? Like my cycling addiction or passion, buying stuff at full price all the time if I'm not going to get my bike shop discount. So I thought, you know what, maybe if I show like some club team that I'm really passionate and that I'm worthwhile bringing on board by doing all of the races on the provincial calendar here in Quebec, then they'll take me on, and then I'll be able to get their discounts and I'll be able to enjoy riding with them. And that way I'll be killing like 8 birds with 1 stone. I'll be able to continue enjoying my passion for cycling. But by doing that, by doing more and more races, I started to get some really cool results. And I was invited by the Canadian national team to do my first development project in Europe, which was an amazing experience. And then I got noticed by a semi-pro team, and I got signed by them. And they took me around racing throughout North America while I was still working. And through the results that I got that year, I was noticed by a professional team and offered a professional contract. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put everything on hold and I'm going to take this, because I can't look back when I'm 40 and change my mind and think, okay, well, maybe I'm ready now to take the risk. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm so glad that I took it, because cycling has taught me so many lessons and has given me the opportunity to live so many experiences that have made me grow as an individual. And I think that everything that I've learned on so many different levels will probably pay off in the future in ways that are kind of parallel to the sporting world, whether it's in society, or whether it's in my next career, or whether it's just in who I am as a person. So I'm really grateful for it. But racing professionally was never a plan. It's just something that kind of happened naturally out of my passion for riding, and just my hunger to live every single type of cycling experience possible that I could.
And, that's the best thing about going after a dream and going after a goal, is that sometimes it just organically takes shape. And here you are traveling the world, yep. which is what everyone should be striving for. I think at least is going for it and getting something that they're passionate about. Obviously, you get a chance to speak as well, like around the world. Do you do a lot of public speaking as well for this? I know that you're part of a public speaking club, but this obviously opens an opportunity for you to inspire young girls around the world as well, I would guess. And I've got to think that would be a great part of your job.
Oh yeah. Meeting every individual that I have the opportunity to meet through cycling is so cool. Whether it's somebody like halfway around the world or somebody in my neighborhood, that the bicycle in one way or another, presents me with the opportunity to just connect with. It's so cool. And I'm a spokesperson for a foundation called the Charles Bruneau Foundation, and they play a huge role in providing funds for cancer research and cancer treatment facilities for sick children all over the province of Quebec and all over Canada, and just by consequence as well, all over the world, because, once the research and discoveries have been made, that kind of information has an amazing impact on kids all around the world. So that's been something that's been really meaningful to me in the past few years. I'm also a member of Fast and Female, an ambassador for Fast and Female, which is an organization that was started by cross-country skier Chandler Crawford. And the goal of that is to encourage more girls to get into sport and show them that not only to get in sport, but to stay in sport as well, because a lot of research shows that girls drop out of sport a lot more frequently than boys do, especially once they get over like around to their teenage years. So this organization is kind of to show girls that, you know, staying in sport is cool, it's fun, show them that there are other girls to look up to who do stay in sport, and to kind of share the impact that sport has had on our lives. So that's something that's really neat to me too, because I didn't actually have any sporting role models as a kid, and I never thought of myself as very athletic. I didn't realize that the fact that I just loved playing outside and running and cycling and rollerblading and swimming and just being active all the time was an okay thing. I always thought of myself maybe as a little bit bizarre for that. So it's really cool to be part of Fast and Female and just tell other girls, like, look, this is fun and you can do it, and it's okay. And look at all the other people that are doing it too.
Well, I think that's a great thing. And it's inspiring to young minds as well, to look up to somebody that's doing it full time for a living, and gives them hope. And I think that's great. So good for you on that.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy converting people to coffee as much as I do? Now, keeping in mind that my coffee journey, Lex, is only a year and a half old.
No way.
Oh yeah, it's only a year and a half old. So for me, I'm new. I'm the new coffee asshole. I'm the guy that's avoided it for 40, for a long time, and now I'm well into it. And
welcome to the club.
Yeah, it's quite something. But what's happened is I've gone right to the top of the good stuff, and now I've immersed myself so much in it and trying to learn so much about it that as I'm touring around the world, like yourself, I'm meeting great coffee people around the world, but I'm also meeting people that are asking me now about coffee, and I love converting them over, from 2 cream and 2 sugar to straight black, and enjoying like an AeroPress for what it is and things like that. Are you finding that that's happening? Have you converted your teammates, or is everybody on board the coffee train with you?
My favorite quote in the entire world comes from a magazine that I read, I think when I was about 13 years old. My dad back in the day when they used to have magazines on airplanes, my dad he's very frugal, and I admire him for that. He would, as a gift, he would bring me like magazines off of the airplane that he would take home instead of maybe buying them. So that was very kind of him. But one of my favorite magazines, because I found it so inspiring, was the Robb Report. And I remember in the Robb Report, there was this article about this guy who owns an industrial design company based in New York. His name is Donald Thompson, and his company is called Donald Thompson Industrial Design. And there's just one quote in that article that really resonated with me. And he says, "People don't know it's possible, so they take whatever's available. For example, if people didn't know about Rolls Royces, they would buy Chevrolets." And I've memorized that since I was 13 years old. It just stuck with me. So for me to be able just to share my knowledge and my experience with coffee with other people, just to show them what's possible and what exists out there, is really fun. Like I don't feel any need to try to convert people. There's nothing in it for me other than I prefer getting pleasure out of just sharing knowledge with people and letting them kind of discover a passion or a love for coffee themselves. And not everybody likes coffee. I don't really get it, but the ones that do usually get really excited about it. And for me to watch them take off from there is a lot of fun. And I mean, when you're on a cycling team and your teammates kind of get into it as well, that's really fun, because then you have more coffee shop ride partners to go with.
You've got so much gear on tour with you. I got to think you got a whole other bag just for your coffee stuff. What are you working with at home?
So at home, actually, sometimes I'll pull out the gear that I travel with for my coffee at home, especially the AeroPress. And I have a really cool attachment. It's called the Puck, and it's for cold brew coffee. So I've used that quite a bit this summer to make cold brew coffee. But my machine is a Rancilio Silvia. And then I have 2 actually Rocky grinders, one with a doser and one that's doserless, to grind my coffee. And the reason that I have 2 grinders is because I like to have one hopper filled with regular coffee and the other one with decaf. Because even though it looks like I drink a ton of coffee every single day, I actually try to stay pretty reasonable with my caffeine intake. So after noon, I try to have no more caffeine. or very little caffeine, and the decaf beans actually have quite a bit less caffeine. So yeah, I have 2 grinders at home.
I wish I'm like, I'm still drinking coffee at 5 p.m. right now, 6 p.m. just to get through my day, which goes till 3 or 4 in the morning at times.
Holy smokes.
It's a bit of a thing, but where can people find you next? If they wanted to come, can people come see you race, or what are you up to?
Well, my Lex versus Lorac race against Georges Laraque is going to be on the Formula One racetrack in Montreal on October the 6th. Go time is at noon. So if you want to come out for a fun race, a one-on-one race, we're going to have a blast. It's been fun the past 2 times that I've done this with Georges Laraque, and hopefully it's going to be fun this time. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit more fun for me than for him, because I'm really adamant about winning. So that's on October the 6th. And then other than that, the rest of the season is going to be just all about training and sharing the pleasure of the ride with other people. I'll probably be traveling a little bit throughout the States, maybe Canada, maybe riding a little bit on the West Coast. I'll probably go down to Florida this winter as well. And enjoying time on my motorcycle as well. But people can definitely connect with me on all of the social media platforms. I'm most active on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Just search Lex Albrecht and connect with me. And whenever there's an opportunity to share the ride, I'm pretty much always down for it.
Well, that's great to hear. And I couldn't be happier to have you be my first female on the podcast.
It's an honor.
This has been a blast for me. Putting this thing together, talking coffee with people from around the world in different various forms and what they're up to. And I got musicians, I got roasters, and I'm finding that this coffee culture and community is really supportive of each other, and it's making for some real fun conversations and content. So I know you're busy, and I really appreciate the time today for our listeners, and also for being in the first 10 episodes. For me, I think that's a great thing for me, and I was very excited that you were able to make the time to come on today. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, what an honor for me. Thanks. It's been a lot of fun talking coffee and joining your part of the community as well.
Well, hopefully we'll cycle and drink coffee in 2020 somewhere. That'd be great.
Let's do it. I'm down.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Lex. We'll talk soon, everyone. Thanks for joining me this week on the Brenton on Tour podcast. Cycle well, drink coffee well. Anything for our listeners on your way out, Lex?
Follow your heart, drink a lot of coffee, and enjoy life on 2 wheels. I wish everybody an awesome day.
Awesome. Thanks, Lex. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Well, if that didn't inspire you to go for a bike ride, I don't know what I can tell you. That was great. Thanks to Lex for jumping on this week, helping us get to 1,000 subscribers. And by us, I mean you. You guys have been along for the ride. This is episode number 7, almost at the first 10. Sorry that it took 7 to get a girl, but here we are. We got a girl, and what a girl. She was awesome. What a great story. Make sure you follow her on Instagram. It's one of the funnest Instagram feeds, I think, on the internet. It has to be. She's a blast. She's out there just showing us about coffee and her journey, and it's just super inspiring. And I know that she's been inspiring girls all over the world to do the same. Join me next week. Leverpresso competition is coming down to the wire. We've only got 3 episodes left, my friends. And then we're going to do the big announce. Until next week. All right.